Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're exploring a really fascinating, maybe even quite challenging perspective on relationships. The basic idea is this. The men who come into your life, they're essentially mirrors reflecting different parts of yourself back at you.
Hmm.
It's a viewpoint that asks you, really insists, that you shift your focus
Mm-hmm.
away from blaming your partner or trying to fix him, and instead turn that look inwards.
Right. And what's so compelling here is how it completely reframes relationship problems. It suggests the difficulties you see in a partner aren't just random bad luck. They might actually be serving a purpose,
A purpose. Like what?
like teaching you something really vital about yourself, especially around, love and self-acceptance. The idea presented is that life itself is kind of a school and love is the main subject. And men, they often bring the toughest, but maybe the most important lessons.
Okay, let's get right to the heart of it then. This core idea, it seems pretty direct.
Yeah.
You can only give love if you actually have it inside you first. You can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly. You can't give what you don't possess.
And the absolute foundation seems to be that your man, whoever he is always your mirror. Always. Only reflecting what's already inside you.
And, that immediately bumps up against a really common goal people have. Finding a worthy man.
Right, someone who measures up.
Yes. But this perspective challenges that. It argues that striving only for someone deemed worthy misses the point. Because any man you attract, whoever shows up, is precisely the man you're currently, worthy of, or maybe better put, the man you're actually ready to receive right now.
So it's not about good or bad, him being good or bad.
No, not presented as a judgment, more like a fact. It shows what you're currently willing or able to accept in your life. He outwardly mirrors your internal stuff, your issues, giving you this chance to see yourself, from the outside almost.
So instead of hunting for the perfect guy, you attract the guy who reflects where you're at internally. That's a tough pill to swallow for a lot of folks, I imagine.
Oh, absolutely. It's not an easy idea to sit with. It asks for a lot of self-responsibility.
Okay, so let's get specific, because this is where it gets really intriguing. The idea goes into common scenarios, right? And what they supposedly reveal.
Yes, there are several quite pointed examples. Let's take, the jealous man. If you find yourself with a man who's intensely jealous.
Okay, what's the reflection there? Usually we'd think it's his insecurity.
Well, according to this line of thinking, his jealousy reflects your own unprocessed or perhaps unchanneled sexual energy.
Wait, my energy causes his jealousy? How does that work? That seems backwards.
It's all through that mirror idea. The suggestion is that a truly jealous man wouldn't even show up for a woman who's fully comfortable and, let's say, integrated with her own sexuality. His jealousy is seen as mirroring some kind of internal turbulence or suppression within her that needs an outlet. Maybe creativity, maybe just deeper self-acceptance.
Wow, okay.
Eh.
Challenging. What about, a much darker scenario, the abusive man, the tyrant?
This is obviously very difficult territory. The perspective here is that the situation signals a critical lesson for the woman. It's time to learn to listen to yourself, to your own needs, your own limits, and crucially, to establish firm boundaries. The thinking presented is that women who end up with partners described as tyrants often lack a strong sense of their own boundaries. They've perhaps fallen into a victim pattern without realizing it.
And the man's behavior. It has a purpose in this view? That feels incredibly hard to accept.
It is hard. And sensitive. But the perspective argues his behavior acts like a harsh catalyst. It forces a confrontation. It suggests this dynamic will either completely break the woman down, or if she can learn from it, it forces her to develop self-respect, to rebuild her sense of self. By mirroring that victim state back so intensely, he's essentially screaming, "You must defend yourself. Stand up." The idea is that sometimes deep pain is the only motivator strong enough to force that kind of fundamental change. A less extreme partner maybe wouldn't trigger that necessary growth.
That's a profound and difficult interpretation, especially around abuse. Okay, shifting gears a bit. What about the man struggling with addiction? An alcoholic or addicted partner?
This, too, the perspective insists, isn't accidental. You've attracted him, subconsciously, for a lesson. And it looks at how the woman often behaves in this dynamic. Typically, one of two ways.
Okay.
Either she's constantly nagging, criticizing, trying to control him, which this view interprets as her symbolically killing his masculine energy.
Wow.
Or she falls into a poor me, poor thing state, feeling perpetually unlucky, like life owes her, like she's just a victim of his addiction and her sad circumstances.
And the lessons derived from those.
In the nagging scenario, His addiction is seen as mirroring her having killed something vital within herself, maybe her own feminine nature, her softness, her joy. So he's escaping reality because she's perhaps suppressed hers. In the poor thing scenario, he's there to teach her self-love, self-respect, maturity. To teach her she must take responsibility for her own life, her own happiness, not wait for him to change or for someone to rescue her.
So his addiction is linked back to her, either her internal state regarding her own nature or her sense of personal responsibility. It's a consistent pattern here.
Yeah. It is. The man's issue is consistently framed as a reflection. Let's take another type. The weak-willed man, Bama's boy, maybe lacking that inner strength or backbone.
Okay. What does he mirror?
If you attract that, the thinking goes, it's likely because you're the type of woman who just can't let go of the reins. You need to be in control.
I mean, she needs to be.
Exactly. You decide everything, you think you know best, you're constantly trying to change him, improve him, and your arguments probably stem from that urge to control or fix. And interestingly, the suggestion is you'll probably deny this about yourself if someone points it out.
Huh. Okay, a direct challenge there.
Yeah.
What of the guy who's full of promises but always flaking out, always partying, never quite committing?
Yes. That man supposedly walks into your life with a very loud, clear message, even if it's unspoken.
Which is?
Start valuing yourself. He's a mirror reflecting a crucial question back at you. Why are you okay with this? Why do you keep playing by his rules, always adjusting your life, your expectations around his inconsistency?
Why do you let him disappear for weeks and then welcome him back just because he says nice things?
Exactly. You're not being valued in that dynamic. And there's a warning attached. Yes. If you get into this deep habit of adjusting, of accepting less, of not demanding respect, even if you later meet a genuinely good man, someone who wants to love you deeply, he might eventually stop valuing you too. Not because he's bad, but because you've trained yourself, and therefore him, that you'll accept being undervalued. It becomes your pattern.
Wow. So these aren't just random, difficult partners. They're like personalized lessons showing up, designed to point out something specific you need to address in yourself.
That's the essence of it, and it goes deeper. There's this idea of the shadow personality.
Shadow personality.
Yeah, those parts of us we're just unaware of, or we refuse to see, or we actively dislike and deny in ourselves. They're there, but hidden from our conscious mind.
And the mirror effect. It works in specific ways to reveal these shadows.
That's the idea. It breaks down into two main types of mirrors, direct and reverse.
Okay, tell me about the direct mirror.
A direct mirror is when something that absolutely drives you nuts about someone else, that exact trait, is actually in you, but you don't see it or accept it. The classic example given is laziness. Let's say your partner's laziness makes your blood boil. You just can't stand it.
Right.
The direct mirror principle says that same capacity for laziness exists strongly within you.
But wait, what if I feel like I'm the complete opposite? Always busy, always stressed, never stopping.
That's precisely the point. You might have suppressed it completely. Maybe you were taught you had to be strong, always achieving. Maybe constant busyness is how you cope with stress. The lesson isn't go be lazy. It's acknowledge and accept that this trait, this capacity for doing nothing, exists in you too. Maybe you need to allow yourself conscious relaxation, accept that deep down you could be lazy, perhaps even more so than the person irritating you.
Okay. Accepting the potential within.
Yeah.
That's tricky. What about the reverse mirror?
The reverse mirror is a bit different. Here, the trait that irritates you in him is the opposite of something in you, usually something you've taken to an extreme, creating an imbalance.
Okay, examples.
Sure. If you're constantly irritated by a man you see as a weakling, it might mirror that you're too strong, too dominant, caring too much. The lesson: learn to soften, allow vulnerability, maybe let someone else take the lead sometimes.
Makes sense.
If you're frustrated by an irresponsible man, it could point to you being over-responsible, controlling everything, micromanaging, unable to trust or relax.
All right.
If you find yourself dealing with a liar, maybe it reflects your own intense fixation on truth, needing constant proof, lacking faith, unable to trust without concrete evidence.
And a greedy man.
That might reflect your own stinginess. Maybe not with money, necessarily, but perhaps stingy with yourself, with love, with emotions, with time, with self-care, holding back too much.
So the core idea is, once you recognize and really accept these traits in yourself, the direct ones, or the opposites, the external thing, his behavior, it either changes or it just stops bothering you so much.
That's precisely the claim. It's presented as a fundamental principle. Everything in our environment acts as a mirror. If you're unhappy with your surroundings, your job, your friends, This view suggests you're primarily unhappy with yourself. Your attitude towards yourself shapes your attitude towards others, and they reflect that back.
What is inside is outside. Simple as that.
According to this viewpoint, yes. Your inner world attracts compatible inner worlds. If you're surrounded by suffering, negativity, that's likely reflecting something within you. Conversely, if you're surrounded by bright, loving, supportive people, it's because that reflects your own inner state.
So the constant message is, work on yourself.
Work on yourself, focus inward, and the external world, including the people in it, will shift. It's framed not to make you feel guilty, but empowered. You have the agency to change your experience by changing your internal landscape. Even really painful things, like infidelity, aren't seen as just pathologies, but as potential points for deep reflection and overcoming something within yourself.
And the root cause, it suggested, often ties back to, well, a disconnect from what might be called authentic feminine nature.
Yes. The thinking is that many women carry internal disruptions, almost like harmful programming passed down generations that pull them away from that balance.
And these programs lead to those relationship dynamics we talked about, those two extremes.
That's the connection being made, either pushing women towards excessive masculine energy, the Iron Lady type, which then attracts passive, dependent men who tend to escape reality.
Through laziness, drinking, whatever.
Right. Or the programming leads women into a victim stance, which then attracts the controlling or tyrannical partners. Through these difficult men, the idea is that universe or life or whatever you want to call it is trying to get your attention, trying to make you realize something important about these imbalances.
Like it's sending a message through these challenging relationships. What's the message?
It's almost framed like a plea. Become a woman. In the fullest sense, learn self-love, appreciate life. You're not here just to suffer. Where's the flow, the acceptance? Where's the passion, the warmth? Where's respect for men and for yourself? Where's wisdom, beauty, lightness, joy? Where is faith?
The man in this difficult role becomes a kind of unintentional coach for rediscovering that balance.
And if you don't get the message, if you don't do the inner work,
The cycle just repeats. You break up, find someone new, and, same problems, maybe even amplified. A frustrating loop. The perspective is adamant. Change has to start with the woman because she holds the space for the relationship. Before pointing fingers, look in the mirror.
it's not about manipulating him then. No, not at all. It's about self-respect, self-love, faith, acceptance, starting with self-acceptance and finding your own joy in light.
But self-change, especially this deep kind, it hurts. Realizing how you might be contributing to your own pain. That's tough.
Oh, it absolutely acknowledges the pain. It doesn't sugarcoat it. In fact, it argues that pain isn't just likely, it's often necessary for growth in relationships. It calls pain an inseparable companion when two adults are truly trying to build something lasting together.
Yet our instinct is usually to run from pain, isn't it?
Very much so. Many people just can't tolerate it. The moment things get complicated or uncomfortable, they're out. End it. Start fresh.
Hoping the next one will be easy.
Exactly. Hoping for that problem-free fairy tale. But inevitably, the honeymoon phase ends, friction starts, criticism creeps in, and that same old pain they ran from, it comes right back.
So what's the point of running in circles?
So instead of running, what's the alternative when pain arises? Turn towards it. Ask different questions. Instead of, how do I get out of this? Ask, what did this situation teach me? Why did this happen now in my life? What lesson is here for me to understand and integrate? Approaching it this way, processing it internally, doesn't deplete you. It actually gives you resources, strength for the future.
So difficulties aren't necessarily a red flag telling you to leave, but maybe an invitation to grow closer, to work together.
That's the perspective. You often have to go through the metaphorical fire, water, and copper pipes. Real hardship to be strengthened, to grow. Don't fear it. Every real relationship involves challenges. Expecting pure ease and enjoyment all the time just sets you up for disappointment.
You need to be ready for the tough times.
Ready for them, and crucially, ready to face them together. See them as opportunities for deeper connection, mutual support, real teamwork. And that leads to a powerful redefinition of a loved one.
Which is
A loved one isn't just someone who gives you pleasure all the time. It's someone for whom you are willing to face difficulties, overcome obstacles, and, most importantly, someone for whom you are willing to change yourself. Someone you accept completely, fully, without reservation, mirroring that necessary self-acceptance we talked about.
that brings us full circle. It's a really thought-provoking and, yeah, definitely challenging way to look at our relationships. This idea that your partner isn't the core problem, but the messenger. the mirror.
It absolutely shifts the focus. Relationship work becomes primarily inner work. Changing him may be impossible. Changing yourself, that's where the power lies, according to this view.
Yeah.
That's how you change the reflection.
It makes you reconsider all those common struggles, jealousy, control, irresponsibility, not just as his flaws, but as signposts pointing to something unresolved within you. Direct reflections or those hidden opposites.
And it doesn't pretend it's easy. The pain, the complications, they're reframed as necessary fuel for growth, not just signals to bail. Find the lesson in the pain.
So practically speaking, what does this suggest? The next time you're feeling hurt or frustrated by a partner's actions, pause. Before reacting, maybe ask, okay, hang on. What is this showing me about me right now? What mirror am I actually looking into here?
And it then leaves us with a pretty big question to ponder, doesn't it? If you really take this idea on board that who you attract is a mirror, how does that fundamentally change how you approach dating, how you navigate disagreements? Does your main focus shift from evaluating potential partners to maybe a much more rigorous ongoing evaluation of yourself?
Definitely something to mull over. Thanks for joining us today.